Hi, I'm Susan K. Worley, and I want to talk to you about increasing your gut intelligence. And there's 7 principles to do that. And so far, we've talked about principle number 1, which is get curious, and principle number 2, get conscious, and principle number 3, which is get courageous. And what happens is we raise our level of curiosity and consciousness, we start facing the truth, right? And we start seeing things and noticing things that we otherwise just didn't. And what happens is it's kind of like in our peripheral vision. And when we face off that truth and we see it, fear often comes to us because we don't always have all the answers and what to do or say in that situation. So we do have to do principle number 3, which is get courageous. And the way we do that is we go into a deeper connection within ourselves. When we make that deeper connection with ourselves and we ask a very focused question about our situation, we hear intuition. We hear that still small voice. We get indication through pictures if we're more of a visual person, and this just knowing in our gut what it is we need to do or say. But oftentimes what happens is we live in such a busy world that we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off, and we're in what they say is a beta brainwave. And so it's kind of like this thing over here is bothering us and we're kind of not dealing with it, but it's there, and our mind starts to chatter, and we're all wound up, and that's why we end up with all this anxiety, because we're just not really going deeper with ourselves to know what it is exactly that we need to do. So when I work with my clients, they often tell me all these things that are going on in their life and that they're stressed out about. And I say to them, let's take that thing that's bothering you and let's flip it into a question. And I always start the question with a how might I? How might I what? What is it that you're wondering about? So maybe your job is stressing you out and you're wondering, how might I not be so stressed in my job? Or maybe it's somebody you're working with who's super critical, and maybe you want to know, how do I deal with their criticism? Or maybe you want to transition out of your job into something else, and it's maybe, how might I transition into a different job that I enjoy more? Or maybe it's, how do I make more money? See, all these things we tend to complain about, and we're stressed about, and they're over here, but again, we're not dealing with them. But when we ask the how might I question, we face off whatever that is, and we learn to quiet our minds so that those answers can come to us. And that's what I want to do with you today. Because when we take the time to be curious and raise our consciousness and become more courageous to face off those questions and listen within, Dr. Sarah Laser from Massachusetts has said that actually what can happen is we change our brain. And we change our brain because that amygdala in our brain, some people call it the monkey brain, shrinks. And we create this neural pathway between our gut, our heart, and our head, where there's this connection. And pretty soon we can listen to ourselves, and what does our gut know? And what is our heart telling us? And what is it that we just know we need to do to deal with that situation? And that's, again, what I call increased gut intelligence. So what I want to do with you today is show you how to connect with yourself in a meditation. And by giving you this practice, what you'll be able to do is do this every day with yourself. And what Dr. Sarah Laser says is when you do this every day for 20 minutes, for 30 days, you actually shrink that amygdala, create this neural pathway, and get to that intuitive part of your brain more easily, so that when you have a question in the future, you just know the answer more quickly. And you're not reacting so much in this fight, flight, or this anxiety, depression sort of state. So let's do this together right now. What I want you to do is take out a piece of paper and write down something that's really bothering you. Maybe it's a relationship. Oh, we don't get along, we argue, we've got the same thing we're always dealing with, but we don't resolve it. Maybe it's something personal like your weight, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's something in your job. Whatever it is, write it down and then flip it to a how might I question. How might I what? How might I lose this weight? How might I get along better with this person? How might I make more money? What is it for you? Put it in a how might I question. And if you need to pause this until you get your question written down, that's okay. And I want you to bring this question into meditation, because I find that when we do this, we increase our gut intelligence, because we're not only quieting the mind and shifting from beta brainwave to alpha, but we're also tapping into our gut intelligence by asking ourselves, what is it we know? So what we're going to do, I'll tell you what we're going to do first, then we're going to do it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift from the beta brainwave to the alpha through breath. And we're going to breathe first to this area of the chest where my necklace is. Then we're going to breathe down to the chest area, and then to the upper belly, and then to the waistline, belly area, and then way down below in the belly. And we're going to go 3 breaths at each place. And we're going to start with breathing in our nose and out our nose, and then we're going to shift to breathing in our nose and out our mouth. And again, this is going to do several things. It's going to shift the brain wave from beta to alpha. It's also going to create this neural pathway between the gut, the heart, and the head. And it's going to open up the corpus callosum in the brain, which is this bridge that connects the left and the right hemisphere, so that we can have greater access to higher brain thinking. And then I'm going to do this neuro-linguistic sort of around the clock, where you're first going to look up to the right side of your mind's eye, and I'm going to ask you what you see, because people who are visual, that intuitive comes to them visually. And then I'm going to ask you to lean your head to the left so that you can listen in that inner ear in case you're auditory. And then I'm going to ask you to look down into your gut and ask yourself, what is it I know for sure? And those are for the people who are more kinesthetic learners. And we're going to do that a couple of times. And then when we're done, I'm going to ask you to write down what came to you, and then turn that into an action plan so you can move forward. Now, sometimes what happens is you get this knowing or this idea in this meditative practice, but then fear shows up again. And it might be something like, oh, I don't have enough money for that, or I don't have enough resources, or I don't have enough support, or I don't have enough time, or I don't know anything about that. And then we go to this place of being blocked again. It's our fear. And we're in this mindset of fear, judgment, and control again. And what we need to do is just take that into a question again into our meditation the next time. So say, for example, you were wondering how you could make more money, and you get this idea on how to do a business. But then all of a sudden your fear comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get the money for that? I can't do that. And we go into fear, judgment, and control. What I want you to do is take that into meditation the next time and say, well, how might I get the money for that? And then we'll go through that whole exercise again of what do I see, what do I hear, what do I sense, and listening to that intuitive that comes to us when we've again connected the gut, heart, and head through this vagus nerve. Because see, all these neurons and neurotransmitters and hormones are in the gut, and when we breathe deeply into the gut where our unconscious knowing is, and we breathe it up and out, we connect these 3 brains, our gut, heart, and head, and suddenly we get to this aha knowing, to the next step of our awareness. And when there's still questions there or blocks, we have to take that into meditation again the next time. So when we make this a continual practice, it doesn't just happen one time, but on a daily basis, 20 minutes a day, bringing our questions into meditation, writing down what we know, and then writing down again what is the block and what is my question to get past that block, and then writing down action steps. What happens is we become this very clear, calm, and conscious person who's dealing with this chattering that's going on around us and within us, so that we can move forward into our life in the way that we're supposed to, that's truly aligned to who we are and what is our vision, values, and goals. When we don't deal with it, it's like static energy on the side of us that's just creating anxiety and depression, that we feel stuck and we can't move forward. So this meditation will not only change your brain so that it shrinks the amygdala and gives you a clear pathway to higher brain thinking, but in addition, what it will do is it will just help you to move forward in those areas in your life that you've not been able to move forward to in the past. So let's do it together, okay? So you've got your situation that was bothering you, which is a thing, of course, you've been complaining about to everybody and yourself. And again, I don't have enough this, I don't have enough that, I don't like this, I don't like that. Whatever your thing is, turn it into a how might I what? What is it you want? How might I lose weight? How might I make more money? How might I have a job I love? How might I feel more love? How might I be respected? How might I become more well known? What is it? Write it down in a question. And now we're going to start to begin our breathing. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to breathe through your nose and out your nose. And I want you to breathe just to the upper chest area, about where my necklace is. Of course, you're not looking because your eyes are closed. But we're going to do this 3 times. And again, this is going to help to shift the brainwave from beta to alpha. I'm not going to take you into a hypnotic stage, so don't worry. It's just to connect the gut, heart, and head, open up the corpus callosum, and get into higher brain thinking. One more breath right there at the chest. And now bring it down to the middle of your chest. And we're going to take 3 breaths there. Again, in your nose and now out your mouth. And make these breaths nice and even, so the inhalation is the same as the exhalation, slowing it down as much as you can. Beautiful. Now breathe down to the top part of your diaphragm. This is a couple inches above your waistline. Breathing in your nose and out your mouth. I like to use a visual picture of a wave, as it's got a really nice even rhythm. And it calms me as I think about that. And I breathe. Now breathe down to your waistline, again, in your nose and out your mouth, elongating that breath as much as you can, evening it out as much as you can. And now all the way down to the lower part of your gut, breathing in your nose and out your mouth 3 times. One more time. Beautiful. Now what I want you to do is keep your eyes closed and focus on your question, your how might I question. And look up to the right side of your mind's eye, and you might see an image or some words that give you an indication of the answer to that question. How might I what? What are you focusing on? And keep breathing into your belly. Now lean your head to your left ear and pull it down to your shoulder a little bit and listen in to that still small voice that is guiding you on what it is you need to do to answer your question, how might I what? And breathe deeply into your belly. Now breathe deeply into your gut and ask yourself, what do I know for sure? What is it I know for sure? And breathe deeply into your belly, knowing that you know what it is you need to do. And bend to your left ear again and listen to that still small voice. And ask yourself, what do I hear? And now look up to the right side of your mind's eye and close your eyes. It's within your mind and you see a picture. You see something to give you an indication of what it is you need to do. And take a deep breath and let it out. And ask yourself again, when you look down into your belly, ask yourself, what is it I know for sure? How might I what? What is your question? And now take a big stretch. You did great work. Likely something came to you, and if something didn't, that's okay. This is like building a muscle, a neural pathway between the gut, the heart, and the head. And just jot down any words or indications that you got, something that you might have seen, you might have heard, or you just know. And write something down. If it's not crystal clear, that's okay. Just write down a few little clues and go back to your same question and meditate on it again tomorrow. Now, if something did come up for you, write that down, and I want you to notice if any blocks came up for you, any fears that you need to get courageous around, and ask again. How might I, whatever you need to ask to get past that block. So for example, again, if it's you need to have a talk with somebody that you've had problems with in a relationship and maybe fears came up that they would get defensive, then ask yourself, well, how might I deal with their defensiveness? Or again, if you want to get a new job and you started having blocks about, oh gosh, could I really find something that I love? Maybe you then ask the question, how might I find something I love? Or maybe your question is, again, you want to start a business and you're worried that you're not enough. You don't have enough time to do that, enough resources. Turn that fear and block into a how might I question. Write that down, and tomorrow go into your meditation doing the same thing where you breathe at the neckline, the chest, the top of the diaphragm, the waistline, and the lower belly. 3 breaths into each of those areas, nice and slow. And then ask your how might I question. And look up in your mind's eye, what do I see? Tilt to the left ear, what do I hear? And look down in the belly, what do I know? And then go back around the clock again. And again, take notes on what you learn. Now, if nothing comes to you, that's okay. You put it into your unconscious mind, likely when you wake up in the morning, or you're relaxing maybe in the shower, boom, an answer will come to you. And you'll know it's your answer because there's this aha knowing where there's a heightened awareness and you just get chills all over and you know that's it. Write it down. And if you have any more questions around that or blocks, then take that into your meditation again. And these are our first 3 principles on how to become more curious, conscious, and courageous, to face that little chattering mind that's going on within us so we can face it off, take that fear into a how might I question and into meditation so that we become the more clear, calm, and confident person that we are. I'm Susan K. Worley, and I hope you take this practice to your morning, to your evening, sometime during your day for 20 minutes so that you can be more clear.